Welcome to the EACC Math Lesson number 12, Graphing Equations of Lines. We talk about equations of lines. We're actually talking today about linear equations. These graphs will be straight lines. There are other lines, we can graph parabolas, circles, and so on, but today we're going to be looking at linear equations, straight lines. Now, a linear equation can take this form, y equals negative 2x plus 2. This is called the slope-intercept form, which we'll use later. But if you look down here at the bottom, when the equation is in this form, the number in front of the x gives us a slope of our line, and our constant term on the end gives us the y-intercept, where our graph crosses the y-axis. The other method we're going to use today is over here is by setting up a simple table. And again, I say simple, but it's really a powerful tool because we can use it to graph any kind of a line. Okay, so looking at our first equation, 4x plus 2y is equal to 2. We want to graph this one using 3 points. But the first step is the same no matter which method we use. You always want to solve for y. In other words, get y by itself on one side of the equation. So here's my equation here. So I need to get rid of that 4x. I'm going to subtract it. So I have 2y equals, I'm going to write that part first, a negative 4x, and then I still have the positive 2. Then divide everything by 2, so y equals negative 2x plus 1. Okay, so I've got to solve for y, so now I'm going to set up a table. I'm going to pick some values for x and get my corresponding y values. Now, what I want to stress here, it doesn't matter what values you pick to put in for x. So, keep it simple. Pick things that are easy to work with, numbers that are easy to work with. I'm going to pick out good old 0, 1, and negative 1. Alright, so I'm going to go up here, and where I have an x, my x in the equation, I'm going to put these values in. So I'm going to put 0 in for x first. Negative 2 times 0 is still 0, plus 1 gives me a 1 for my y. Substituting 1 in for x, negative 2 times 1 is a negative 2, plus 1 is a negative 1 for my y. And substituting negative 1 in for x, negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2, plus 1 is 3 for my y value. So there's my 3 points, their coordinates, so let's plot those points. So we've got 0, 1 is the first one, 1, negative 1 is the second one, and negative 1, positive 3 is the third one. Connecting the dots then, we'll draw a straight line through those 3 points, and our linear equation looks like this. Okay, so again, running through the steps, if you want to use a table, solve for y, pick any values you want to put in for x. It doesn't really matter. Just keep it simple on yourself, and you'll be fine. Plot those points and draw your line. Okay, this time we want to use the slope and the y-intercept to draw our line. So we can see here the slope-intercept form looks like this. So again, we have to solve for y. So getting y by itself, I'm going to add an x to each side. So I have 3y is equal to x plus 12. And then divide everything by 3. Now, dividing by 3 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/3. In other words, if I have x over 3, it's the same thing as writing 1/3 times x. And then 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay, so there's my slope. And there's my y-intercept. Okay, all right, so you always start with a y-intercept. So I'm going to put my first point right there on the 4. Now, the slope, remember, is the rise over the run. So the run's on the bottom and the rise is on top. So this tells me to go over 3 and up 1. Since it's positive, we're going to go to the right 3. 1, 2, 3, and up 1. So there's a second point. Now I can use those 2 points to draw my line, and something like that. Okay, so here's another one. 3y plus 6x is equal to negative 3. Again, I want to use the slope and the y-intercept to graph this line. So once again, my first step is going to be to solve for y. Okay, so here I need to subtract 6x, so I have 3y equals negative 6x minus 3. Divide everything by 3, so y equals a negative 2x minus 1. All right, so my slope is negative 2. Now, since slope is rise over run, I know that I can put negative 2 over 1. So 1 is my run and negative 2 is my rise, or 2 is my rise. The negative, though, tells me to go to the left 1 unit and up 2. All right, so we'll start from our negative 1, our y-intercept, go to the left 1 unit and up 2. So there I have 2 points. Now I can draw my line through those points, and we have something like this. Notice since the line was negative, or the slope was negative, it slants up to the left. Okay, two other situations we have are vertical and horizontal lines. So let's start with our x here. X equals negative 4. Well, what this is telling us is that every point on this line has an x-coordinate of negative 4. So this point has x-coordinate of negative 4, this point has x-coordinate of negative 4, this point, and so on, this point down here, this point. So all these lines, or excuse me, all these points have x-coordinate of negative 4. So when I draw a line through all those points, I get this vertical line. So that's always going to be the case. If its x is equal to some constant, it's a vertical line through that number on the x-axis. Okay, going to our y then, y equals 5. Well, that's telling us that no matter what point we have, the y-coordinate is 5. So it's all these points with 5 as the y-coordinate. So again, drawing a line to connect those points, we have this line here. And so that's the graph of y is equal to 5. Notice that we get a horizontal line. So every equation where it's just y equals some constant will be a horizontal line going through that number on the y-axis. So x equals a constant vertical line, y equals a constant is a horizontal line. All right, that's the basics of our graphing, using a table and using the slope-intercept form of a linear equation. So go ahead and do your practice, and again, if you have questions, please let me know. Talk to you later.